Hello and welcome, friends. I'm glad you're here. Please like and subscribe. Comment down below. You know how the internet works. Every interaction is worth its weight in gold out here. If you like this, please go ahead and share it with any community that you think might be interested in such content, I suppose. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Let's see. You should notice that the volume is improved in this particular episode, or video, I guess. This is thanks to Stan and the great Bradu for pointing out the issue, and hopefully this fixes it. It won't fix my variation in my personal volume as I'm moving around the mic, but it should fix the general volume of everything going on. So that should, I did a couple of tests, should put us in line with the rest of the videos out on the internet. So thanks to you guys and everybody else who's commented to help improve this little solo game. I appreciate it. Please continue to do so. And I always look forward to hearing from you guys. Where does that leave us? Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and avoid doing a full recap. We ended up going from the Blood on the Vine Inn down. We talked to Mary, gathered the doll, or like Gertruda's doll. Sidaros has that. And then we continued down. We ran into Morgantha. And eventually we just kind of let Morgantha go. And then we continued on to the burgomaster's mansion, where we met Ireena. Now, one of the things that I would like to do at this point is I would love to see what class Ireena and Ismark are, and kind of start building out those characters. I think that with Shadowdark, we don't need to stick with NPC stats if we don't want to. We can build some NPCs and make them really cool. So, as I mentioned before, we have the core classes, and then I'm also introducing the Bard and Ranger, just to add a little bit of versatility to everything. I think that that would be kind of fun to add to these, options. So, I got a couple of extra character sheets here. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and write down Ireena and Ismark. I'm assuming that I'll be referencing Ismark more. Maybe I should put him on top. Oh well. What can we do? Let's see. They are both Barovian. Now, I don't have a separate ancestry for these, so we'll just treat them as humans for the time being. But I think it'd be cool to maybe do and jazz up a Barovian ancestry one day. At any rate, we're just going to go ahead and drop them at level 1. That requires 10 XP to get where they're going. And I am going to make them both, I think, lawful, considering their backgrounds, basically. Yeah, I think that makes sense. You could roll on this to see what it comes up as. I like the idea of playing them as lawful because they need help and they're willing to help each other. You could argue that pretty much anybody of any alignment would do that, but here we are. This is the solo Curse of Strahd game for my table. For your table, you might want to roll on that and just see what you come up with. Not a big deal. We're not super concerned about it. Their deity is the Morning Lord, we're going to say. That's the main good deity of Curse of Strahd. The Morning Lord. And what do we got here? Backgrounds. Background is interesting. Let me go ahead and move a couple of things over here. We kind of know a little bit about their background from the book, and I kind of want to see if we can make that fit anything in here. Anything at all. Let's see here. I think, let's see, as we're looking down through here, I think we'll make Ismark a noble, the background noble. Technically, Ireena could also be that as well, but let's see if there's anything else. There's Urchin, that's not quite right exactly, but it's kind of close to Ireena's background in the adventure, and we don't know that immediately, but we do know that, like we will know that kind of going into when we start kind of playing more and interacting with her more. So there's that. We could also do Orphaned. The unusual guardian that rescued and raised her would have been Kolyan Indirovich, which is not that unusual, just a human, basically, not a big deal. But he is a noble. I think for background, we're just going to pencil in Orphaned for the time being. We'll call it good. Nothing set in stone. We can change that if we decide to. I think that's fair. Now for the fun bit, let's go ahead and roll some classes. Let's see here. So first we'll do Ireena's class. I know in the Curse of Strahd book, she's kind of depicted as this warrior. That's a little bit heroic for the feel that I'm going for in my Curse of Strahd game. I think you could definitely make a case for it. If you like the idea, I'm not a huge fan of it. Seeing this person that's been preyed on by a vampire dressed up in, plate mail with a long sword. I'm just like, maybe. But let's see what we got here. So we're going to go ahead and roll a d6. We're just going to call it equal chances for everything at this point in time. If we don't like it, we can adjust. Again, not a big deal. Let's see what we roll for Ireena's class. We got a 4, which is a priest. That's interesting to me. I'm going to go ahead and pencil it in. We already have 2 priests in the party, so let's see what Ismark is for now. A 6, so Ismark rolled a ranger. Interesting. That should be cool. Let's go ahead and give Ireena a quick reroll on the priest. Having 3 priests probably isn't a bad idea, but let's see what the dice say. We can kind of see what's happening, kind of make an adjustment. Also got a ranger. So let's keep her as a priest of the Morning Lord. I think that's acceptable. And who knows how it will change the course of play. This is one of those things that doesn't seem that fundamental, like to the core Curse of Strahd thing, like the story, the narrative. But adjusting Ireena to be a priest could open up some interesting opportunities. Let's go ahead and stick with that, and we'll introduce the Ranger class, which I think should be a great time. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what the priest class is. We can close this up for a little bit. I'll just go ahead and shuffle that to the side. And class. Who's got class? I don't. Let's see. Priest, page 20. Alright, so most important for a priest is spellcasting checks, which I believe is spellcasting on page 44. Let's go ahead and flip over to that. I just want to see what we're dealing with here. Alright, it's the wisdom for a priest. I'm just going to go ahead and write that. Let's see. Wisdom. Yeah. So we'll start with level 1. Let's see here. A level 1 priest is an acolyte, which is great. And let's see. We already know her deity, the Morning Lord, which is fantastic. Hit points per level and ability scores first, I suppose, would probably be wise to find out. 6, 7, 8, a 9. Not starting off with a great strength. 12 for dexterity. 7 for constitution. 11 for intelligence. And 11 for wisdom. Finally, charisma. A 10 for charisma. Now, per the rules, if we don't have a 14, we can ditch an ability score. Let's go ahead and roll one more and see if we can replace maybe the lowest or something. Or 8 and 9. Change that con into a 9. Yeah, not amazing. I am tempted to keep it just because that's what I did with my previous characters. I wasn't super concerned about it. I think it would be interesting. But she has almost 0 bonuses in anything useful, essentially. Not necessarily a bad thing, but definitely not good. So I'm trying to think how by the book we want to do this. Let's go ahead and re-roll one more. See if we can get a 14 somewhere. 5, 6, 7, 8 is not higher. I think the dice have spoken. That's her ability scores. Let's go ahead and do Ismark's real quick. Now, I don't know anything about the ranger just yet. We're just going to do a couple of things. Look at that. Ismark's first roll is a 14. I guess the dice just don't like Ireena. That's going to be a 10. A 13 for Constitution. Ismark's going pretty good, actually. A 10 for Intelligence. Perfectly average. 6 plus 6 is 12 for Wisdom. $10 for Charisma. So that's a little bit better character overall, which is probably good because Ismark's going to want to put himself into harm's way. I did print out the Ranger and the Bard. We can see here Ranger titles. He is a Wanderer, which is great. Okay. So we have our level 1 Priestess, Ireena. And humans get an extra talent roll. So let's go ahead and roll some talents for Ireena. First level, she has a 5, so +1 to melee or ranged, with her hit points at being a -1. Let's see, that's a 0, and a 0. Her hit points are going to be -1. I think I'm going to give her a +1 on ranged attacks. And then one more talent roll. Another 5. So she's going to be pretty decent at ranged attacks and not so good at spellcasting checks. Do we like it? The dice have spoken. So she can use the club, the crossbow, dagger, mace, longsword, staff, and warhammer. She can use all armor and shields. She has 1d6 hit points, -1. Rolled a 1. I'm going to go ahead and re-roll that. A 4 -1 is 3 hit points. We're out here just having a good time, guys. Let's see here. Let's see. +2 to ranged attacks. She can turn undead. And she has 2 priest spells. Surprised that turn undead QRS turn undead is on page 72. I'm just gonna go ahead and reference that right on my book here. There's no reason not to. Turn undead is on page 72. And let's see about priest spells. Shall we? Alright, she has 2. It's a d6. Let's see what we roll. A 2 and a 5. So holy weapon. And that's a DC 11. And a 5 is Shield of Faith. Also DC 11. And she gets a whopping +0 to her her spellcasting check. So that's going to be a good time. Really, I could put page references here as well. Might be worth it. Might be worth it later. Alright, so that kind of puts that out here. Ranged attacks is going to be a +3, and then her spellcasting is +0. I'm just going to write spellcasting +0. And we'll cover her equipment in a minute. I want to get back to Ismark here. So he's got a +2, a 0, a +1, 0, +1, and 0. Let's see what the ranger says. They get hit points of D8. They're proficient in the dagger, longbow, long sword, short bow and short sword, a spear and staff. Spear, that's kind of interesting. Could be cool. Let's see. They get a D8 hit points, so Ismark gets a D8 +1. So he has 5 hit points, which is pretty fantastic. They have Wayfinder, which is advantage on navigation, tracking, bushcraft, stealth, dealing with wild animals, all that good stuff. He also has herbalism, which is interesting. And then, of course, 2 rolls on the ranger talents. We got an 11. Advantage on herbalism checks for remedy you choose. So, herbalism. Advantage on... let's say curative. He's going to try to pump out healing potions for us. I think that's pretty cool. Now, one more. 4, 5, 6. +1 to melee or ranged attacks and damage. We're going to go with melee, I think. +1 melee attack and damage. I think that works. The whole gear thing. Now they are the son and daughter of a nobleman. I think what I'll do is I will give them... let's see here. Where is that crawling kit? I think I'll give them a crawling kit and then upgrade their armor, basically. Starting gear 33, maybe? Gear slots, crawling kit. Page 36. So, they'll each get a backpack. I don't think they both need a flint and steel. I think just Ismark will have one. 2 torches. And instead of the flint and steel, I think I'll give Ireena an extra torch. I think that's fair. They do get rations. And there are 3 per gear slot, so 3 and 3. Iron spikes. Ismark might forego the iron spikes. And we'll do a rope and a rope and a grappling hook. And then we'll go ahead and give them their weapon of choice. Ireena can use a longsword, so we're going to do a longsword at -1. Let's see here. 1d8 damage. And then we'll also give her a long bow. How much space does a longsword take? Just 1 slot. Longbow also takes 1 slot. And arrows. There we go. She only has a 9 strength. Ismark has a 14, which is pretty excellent. Ooh, that does take up a space though, so we're gonna get rid of her iron spikes. And we're gonna call that something else. Because I want her to have chainmail. Chainmail. Perfect. 13 plus her dexterity mod is 1, so she has a 14 armor class. And no shield. She could get rid of a torch for her shield. I think we'll hold off for the time being. Ismark can use what sort of armor is my question. Leather armor and chainmail. So we'll also provide him with chainmail. Takes up 2 gear slots. His dexterity is 0, so he's got a 14. He's going to be mostly melee based, I think. So, for mostly melee based, we're going to go with a longsword and shield. So, let me grab my eraser. There we go. The shield adds +2, so he has a 16 armor class. His attack is the longsword, +3, 1d8, +1 damage. Perfect. All right, so that is our 2 new characters, Ireena Koliana and Ismark Indirovich. Kolyanovich? I think it's Kolyanovich, actually. And there we have them. So, we'll go ahead and set the other character sheets I have printed off to one side. Go ahead and move the rulebook off to one side. We're going to bring this back forward here. We'll go ahead and pop open our little journal. All right. Let me get a drink of water real quick, and then we'll do a scene or two to wrap up the video, and then we'll be calling it a day on this one. So just 1 minute. All right. Our heroes are standing outside of the burgomaster's mansion. Ireena has just spoken and said that she's not interested in going anywhere until their father is at rest in the church's graveyard. So, where does that leave us? Ismark goes ahead and ushers everybody inside the mansion, and they close the door behind them. And our party looks around. Sidaros is somewhat smitten with Ireena. So it's the other 3 that kind of take in the environs. And they see that the interior of the mansion is well furnished, yet the fixtures show signs of great wear. Noticeable oddities are the boarded up windows and the presence of holy symbols in every room. The burgomaster is in a side drawing room on the floor, lying in a simple wooden coffin, surrounded by wilting flowers and a faint odor of decay. So, our heroes move into, maybe this this room, and there's kind of this side drawing room, and they can see on the floor the coffin and the flowers, and the scent is just strong enough to come into this kind of parlor. And Ismark apologizes. Please excuse the odor. I'm afraid that the rest of the town has not seen fit to aid me in my putting my father at rest. And he looks a little bit bitter about it. And Ireena nods and says, "We managed to build the coffin ourselves. But unfortunately, the two of us cannot move our late father on our own. We would appreciate your help." And Ismark looks at her and says, "No, Ireena. Dear sister, you must stay. You must stay in the mansion. I will get the aid of these people, and we will move our father to the cemetery. Once he is there, maybe we can have you come out and pay some respects as soon as he's buried." And Ireena immediately refuses. "Absolutely not." And she says something very quickly that the others don't quite capture, and immediately moves into, "This is my father. We will not. I will not be absent of his funeral. His funeral is where I will be, and his funeral will be at the cemetery. We will go together. It's final." And the party kind of looks on, I would say maybe a little bit uncomfortable. Let's see how they feel about it. Will they say anything, or will they just allow Ireena to go to the cemetery with, like, outside the comfort and safety of the mansion while she's being hunted? No but. 5 is a no but. Alright, so Astrid says, "Perhaps your brother is correct. It sounds like you're being hunted by a vampire, no? I think it would be wise to stay in the confines of the house, at least for the moment. Now, we have Ireena that wants one thing, we have the party and Ismark that wants the other. It's going to be a charisma check, I think, to convince her. I think it's going to be a hard DC, DC 15. And we will have... Let's see. We're going to have Astrid do it, because she's the one doing the talking. I think Sidaros would rather give in to Ireena, to an extent. Even though he's, the brains of the operation. Astrid's going to go ahead and try a charisma check. DC 15. A 14 plus 1 is just enough for the DC 15. So, Astrid convinces Ireena to stay at the mansion. At least for the time being, until their father can be entombed, essentially. And then after that, on their way out of town, they can visit the... that will be kind of the butt side. They'll go intern the father, and then afterward, Ireena can come over, and they'll all go together to pay some respects as they're leaving town, essentially. I think that makes the most sense. So, it is daytime. I think the party will spend the night resting, and then they'll take care of the father in the morning. So, they all bed down. There's plenty of rooms in the burgomaster's mansion. They all bed down, and in the morning, they all gather up the coffin. Ismark carefully puts the lid on top of it, and They pick up the coffin. They say their goodbyes to Ireena. Ireena places one last flower on the coffin lid, and our little troop makes their way down the street toward the church. All right. No, cat tax. Hi, May May. All right, the church. Atop a slight rise against the roots of the pillar stone that supports Castle Ravenloft stands a gray, sagging edifice of stone and wood. This church was obviously weathered the assault of evil for centuries on end and is worn and weary. A bell tower rises toward the back, and the flickering lights shine through holes in the shingled roof. The rafters strain feebly against their load. Our heroes, they'll go ahead and move to the door. Go on, pretty girl. There you go, buddy. Alright, so our party moves to the doors. And they see that the heavy wooden doors of the church are covered with claw marks and scarred by fire. Sidaro says, "It appears that the church has also suffered some forms of attack." And Ismark nods and says, Strahd and his minions have been fighting the church for ages. So it kind of comes in waves, he says grimly. Other Barovians even shun the church. So Ismark carefully lets go of the coffin. The other 4, or I guess 3, because Astrid's just, a halfling. The other 3 kind of carry the coffin, so they'll have Astrid actually go forward to open the church doors. The doors open to reveal a 10-foot wide, 20-foot long hall leading into a brightly lit chapel. The hall is unlit and reeks of mildew. 4 doors, 2 on each side of the hall, lead to adjacent chambers. You can see that the chapel is strewn with debris, and you hear a soft voice from within reciting a prayer. Suddenly, the prayer is blotted out by an inhuman scream that rises from beneath the wooden floors. Everybody freezes. Astrid looks over her shoulder, and Ismark looks around, trying to decide what to do. So our party is right here. Let's see. That scream hangs in the air. Let's go ahead and see what F is. Alright, so moving carefully, the party will continue inward, I think, into the chapel proper. And I think before they do so, they'll carefully place the coffin on the ground, because they're not sure what's going on, and they don't want to be caught carrying this coffin if anything happens. So, will the party put down the coffin? I'm going to ask the Oracle. We have an Oracle to answer these questions. Yes, they do. They put it down and move further in. They see that the chapel is in shambles, with overturned and broken pews littering the dusty floor. Dozens of candles mounted in candlesticks and candelabras light every dusty corner in a fervent attempt to rid the chapel of shadows. At the far end of the church sits a claw-scarred altar, behind which kneels a priest in soiled vestments. Next to him hangs a long, thick rope that stretches up into the bell tower. From beneath the chapel floor, they hear a young man's voice cry out, "Father! I'm starving, Father!" And we'll end it there, my friends. Thanks again for being here. Hopefully the audio is a little bit better today. I know I have a tendency to speak to myself in a little bit quieter tone, but overall the audio should be a little bit higher than previous. So let me know how it sounds in the comments. Again, please like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time for the confrontation with Donovich, Father Donovich. Thanks, everybody. Good luck out there.